Hi, good afternoon and welcome to Beyond the Pages. My name is Penny Cothran. I am the editor of South Carolina Business Magazine as well as the multimedia manager at the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce. And with me today is Chalmers Carr. He is the owner-operator of Titan Farms, and we're going to be learning a little bit about his agribusiness today. So let's start by letting you tell me a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Bangkok, Thailand.
Oh, my gracious.
Yes, my dad was a fighter pilot in the Air Force, and he was stationed overseas, and so I was born in Bangkok. Lived there for about 9 months before I moved back to the States. Of course, don't remember any of that. And then growing up, moved all around. He had a 30-year-plus career, retired as a brigadier general. I grew up Washington, D.C., lived in Australia, lived in Alaska. Actually started 7th grade 3 different times, if you can imagine. Started in Washington, D.C., moved to Australia, of course, different time zone, different hemisphere, and so started over, and then went to Alaska and started over again. So never really finished 7th grade, just kind of moved on. But from there, went to Texas, where I spent quite a few years in high school there, and then after that, went to Clemson University for my education.
And that's what brought you to South Carolina?
That is what brought me to South Carolina. Was there until I graduated. Then moved to Florida to manage a farm down in Florida. Bought a farm in Florida, my first farming operation. And then 4 or 5 years, I guess about 4 years later, had an opportunity to return here to South Carolina. My wife and I were married at the time, and we wanted to come up here and be a little bit closer to her, but a lot of our friends were here too. And I wanted to get back in the peach business. And Florida wasn't the best place to do that at the time, so moving back up here and having this opportunity was really what we wanted to do.
So you came back to the real peach state.
That's exactly right. Not the one south of us that they call the peach state, but the real peach state that has the best tasting peaches.
Well, now you mentioned your wife. Tell me about your family.
Married to my wife for 21 years, Lori Ann, and have 2 children. Chalmers the 4th, I'm the 3rd, and then my daughter Carly Ann. Chalmers is 17 and my daughter is 16.
Wonderful. So what were your interests as a child? What did you like to do when you were growing up, and what did you think you would do?
My big interest was sports. I played sports all the way through high school and everything, but other than that, I went home and worked on my mother's family farm every summer, so I did have a lot of interest in the farming operations. I got exposed to a lot of different things early on in farming. It was a very large farm there in North Carolina, and so working with labor and everything like that was a big interest to me. I think when I originally was in college, I really looked at the Air Force again. The government was going through some cutbacks at the time, and so kind of rethought that situation, and that's when I made a decision to go into farming.
Okay, all right. Where did your career begin, and was it a conscious decision? Was it, I'm going to study this and go into farming, or was it sort of a, tell me about your career path. How did you end up to where you are today?
Well, as I said, I started out working in the farms during the summer, so parents lived everywhere different ways, like moved around quite a bit, so every summer went home. So if you weren't going to a baseball camp or a football camp, you were home working on the family farm, so to speak. And so lived with my grandmother for several years during the summer, and then moved in with one of my uncles, and that's where I really found my love for it. And it was the challenge of it that I really enjoyed. And like I said, it was a rather large farm. It was tobacco, peaches, and vegetables, and so got a lot of experience early on. And by the time I was 17, I was actually running a packing shed.
Wow.
And then moved on from there as a farm manager. Through my latter years in college, I worked for another organization in North Carolina doing blueberries and frozen food. So we did actually fresh frozen squash, corn, everything like that. So I got a lot of exposure there.
Quite a lot of exposure, yeah.
So that's when I knew when I was going to college, I did financial management to begin with, and then I went to Ag Econ, which was kind of the combination of both. So I got the agriculture background, but also the business background, especially the accounting and financial management that I really thought I needed. Wow. And that prepared me to be a farm manager.
Okay. Is that a typical career sort of path, or is it atypical? Or
no, I'd say it's kind of typical for those that, but the opportunities in agriculture are limited. So I was in a very unique position to have the opportunities come forward in front of me and everything. But again, it was experiences I had early on. And then the desire to do it. I mean, you have to be persistent. You have to be willing to knock down doors, not accept, no's, and everything like that. So from there, I just took it with the education I had. I was able to go ahead and build financial packages to take to lenders and get, for me being a first-generation farmer, even going to Florida and buying my own first farm, that's quite a step. 22 years of age, you're asking a bank to loan money on you, and so it's kind of been a challenge, but along the way, it's been a lot of prosperity to it too.
And farm lending is not chump change.
No, it's not anymore. Not anymore.
Did you have a mentor or a teacher or someone that you learned the most from?
I could say definitely I did. I had 3 actually. Very, very fortunate in that respect. As I mentioned, my father was a brigadier general in the Air Force, taught me everything about my values, who you are, what you believe in, standing up for things. Then I had my uncle that I lived with, and so my latter years in high school and even my first couple years in college, I lived with an uncle who was an atypical workaholic, and taught me how to work.
Okay.
And then his brother, my other uncle, taught me the business side of things.
Okay.
And so between the three combinations of those mentors, I learned and had a great background that prepared me to do the business I do today.
What was the best advice ever given to you?
Best advice ever given to me. Always be true to your word. But no, I think it's one thing is to respect the people around you,
Okay.
and empower people.
Very
you
nice.
know.
And I assume you do that here at Titan Farms?
I have to.
Yeah, have to. Got it. What advice would you give to the new generation of South Carolina farmers?
Embrace technology.
Okay. Tell me
Clear.
a little bit about how you embrace technology.
Well, we've had to, and again, you got to remember when I was starting out in college, the Commodore 64 computer was just coming around, so I missed that Atari, and, you know, all those game age and everything.
Got
So
it.
I was the one that's on my desk now is solely for email and communication. But when I started getting younger farm managers to come in and start learning the talents that are out there, technology we use today is unbelievable. We have soil moisture probes that can tell us what our water levels are in our soils, so we know exactly what to feed our crops. We got tractors that drive themselves by GPS
Oh my
that
gosh.
do everything from spraying to laying out the land. So any kind of technology that can make you work smarter instead of harder, I would embrace it quickly.
What's a typical day for you?
Typical day starts this time of year. Now there's different seasons, but right now this time of year I'm in here at 5:45 in the morning. I'm meeting with my harvest manager. We go over the harvesting for the day. He's out of here by about 6:15. My other farm managers come in at 6:15. We all meet outside this room and the table out front. We go over everybody's plan for the day and see who needs help and what needs support and where issues are, if there are any issues. And then secretaries start coming in around 7:30, packing shed starts, and the day's off. And you know, in farming, there's going to be a change. It's just how quick the change is coming. It is daily. So for the rest of the day, you're just kind of going through, putting out the fires, going through sales, marketing, working on production, communicating to everybody, making sure. I'm kind of like the team quarterback, if you would, and I use that sports analogy because it's part of. But I just kind of make sure that everybody's on the same game plan. Everybody's got the support they need, and then at 4 or 5 o'clock, you start thinking about the next day, going through what's going to happen then, and start laying out the plans for the next day.
Best laid plans. And
Exactly.
all that,
Just
yeah.
know they're going to change.
What would you say you're known for in your family, in your friends, your circle of friends? What would they say you're good at?
Organization.
Okay.
But I would say planning as well. But what I'd say most of my friends understand the generosity that I have, that I really care about my friends. Friends are, because of the way I grew up and living in a lot of different places, I am very close to a lot of the gentlemen or friends that I went to college with. Even 20-something years later, we still do something every weekend together. Families are, as it says now, it takes a village to raise a family. We definitely are that. And so all of us just doing things together and wanting to see other people do well.
Well, you touched on generosity. Do you have any personal charities that are close, near and dear to your heart? Does Titan Farms have any charities that it supports?
Well, of course we do in the agriculture side of it, but the first one I'd have to go back to is MCG in Augusta, which is the Children's Hospital.
Okay.
Very unfortunate part of our lives. We had my son had a very serious ATV accident, and reaching out and seeing the way that MCG was able to handle that and to help us survive through that and get him to the other side was just tremendous. So we have taken that as a personal family thing to give back to them. And so we've done that over the years, and we stay committed to that one. Then, of course, on the agriculture side, through the University at Clemson, where we do peach research, and being a part of that, we donate to that quite annually. And that's kind of the whole company does that because, again, peaches are 80% of what we do here, and understanding and investing in the future is very important.
Wonderful. Now, I'm speaking to you from the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce. What are your thoughts and feelings on state and local government and how it can better support an agricultural business such as yours? Well,
the biggest thing is, and I think the Chamber's come a long way, and I think the state has too, in recognizing that agriculture is a big part of South Carolina's economy. I don't want to step on any toes, but tourism likes to say they're number one, but when we really break it down, when you talk about food and fiber, and when you look at agriculture as a whole, agriculture is the number one industry, $34 billion last time I checked. So the state needs to recognize that and help do that. I understand bringing in the BMWs and the Boeings of the world, and I think that's very important for our state. But I also understand that companies like mine that are out in these rural communities, we provide jobs, and they're good paying jobs, and there's a lot of opportunities there for what I'd say that young folks growing up in these communities come back to. Right now, I've got 7 high school and college students working here, some as interns, working on research on projects, some that are just actually, here being workers. But I mean, the great background, great resume builders, and a lot of these we end up hiring back when they graduate from school.
Okay.
So as our business has grown, we've been able to do that. So I think the chamber needs to understand that, support small businesses, and I don't know that we're classified as a small business anymore, but support those businesses that are here and see if there's not opportunities to help grow what's already here. Great to attract new companies in, but also let's support what's here and see if we can't help them.
Brilliant. We will take a break. We'll be right back with Chalmers Carr.